Good afternoon, everybody. I think it's a privilege for me to be up here and address you at the conference today. I'd like to talk about a topic which is extending and evolving services to the cloud. And I'd like to do this from a telecommunications perspective. And I think in the previous session, if I can find him, yes, Madan actually asked the question, what's the future for operators? And it's a very, very interesting question, particularly for someone like me. It's actually an incredibly interesting question because that's something I keep asking myself almost on a daily basis, right? And we look for the answers to this question almost on a daily basis. So I'd like to give you some insights into what we see as the future for operators. I'd like to touch on some of the comments also made by Dr. Hans as well as Dinesh in the previous session, because I think that helps me answer that question. And at the same time, I think it's a very relevant question for all of us because that frames, that's the context of where the industry is heading. And from an industry perspective, I think it's a very pertinent question because the future of the industry really is at a crossroads as far as I believe. And the way that the industry evolves can determine the future of companies such as WaveNet, the future of companies such as Dialog, and the whole ecosystem can be affected. But before moving into telecommunications, what I would like to do is I'd like to just go back and look at some other industries. And I'm sure all of you remember Kodak. Throughout the 20th century, literally, they were the leaders in imaging and photography, right? But as of 2011, they filed for bankruptcy. Let's look at another one, music retail, right? And again, a very established industry. 50 years plus retailing music. This was the only way consumers could go and enjoy music. They would go, they would buy, they would spend time in the retail stores, listen to samples, buy music, and walk out. Bankrupt, right? And it's another dying for art form. Let's look at another example. Blockbuster Video. Again, this is a big multinational video rental, game rental kind of business, right? And unfortunately, 2011, they went bankrupt. Why did this happen? Why did such established business players in these industries, Kodak, Blockbuster, multinationals, why did they fail, right? And it's a very perplexing question, but at the same time, I think even if we start to answer that question, we do need to look at, we need to look at the consumers. The consumers of today, and even if you go back a decade, the consumers of today are very, very different. The consumers of today are very demanding, right? And they are also all about contributing, collaborating, creating that collective wisdom, their communities. These are very important things for consumers. And the way they behave, the amount of knowledge, the amount of information they have at their fingertips is, again, incredible. So the way they behave, the way they interact with your brands, the way they interact with each other is so different today from even a decade ago that that's having an impact. But not only has the consumer changed, the fact is that the fundamental way they consume has evolved, right? So today, the way people consume products and services, it's far more personalized. It's an always-on, on-demand world. We expect that we can consume products and services to meet our lifestyle, right? So in yesteryear, I would want to watch a television program. I would sit at 8:30 prime time. I would sit in front of my television and I would watch that program. Today, that's not the case, right? I may want to watch that program when I'm commuting. I may want to watch that program when I have some free time somewhere. The consumption of services is fitting the lifestyle rather than the lifestyle fitting the time and date of consumption. And that's a fundamental change. So let's look at Kodak again, just very briefly. The problem here was defining their business, right? So do you define your business as photographic film or capturing memories? Right? And I think this is where the fundamental comes in. Because if you look at photographic film, you understand why I put bankrupt up there, right? Because that was the end of an era for them. The technology evolved, disruptive technology came into place and replaced them. But when you look at capturing memories, you also understand why a non-traditional competitor came into the market and competed with them. Kodak faced more competition from mobile phones, right, where capturing memories is now an intrinsic part of your mobile phone. Kodak faced competition from a mobile phone company, Nokia, Sony Ericsson, Apple, right? It's non-traditional competitors who came in to that market and competed with them. And again, it starts with how you define your business, right? It's similar for video rental. So if you take Blockbuster, video rental, am I in the video rental business or am I in the home entertainment business? And how you define that business can really fundamentally affect or change the way you see your business. And if I'm a video rental business, again, you can understand why the red letters of bankruptcy was put against their name. If you look at home entertainment, it's all about consumption. How do people consume home entertainment? And when you look at it from that perspective, what you see is the need is there. So the need hasn't changed. The consumer's needs haven't really changed. What's really changed is the way it's consumed. So I still want to have home entertainment. I still need it. It's still a need of mine. But how I consume it has changed. And the disruptive technologies, with the emergence of online players, the evolution of technology has enabled me to change my consumption pattern, but not my need, right? If I want, I still need to capture memories. I still take photographs. But how I do it is what has really fundamentally changed. So I gave you a snapshot of some other industries where you can draw some parallels. And I would like to look at telecom today, right? Where is telecom today? And the reality of telecom today is that from being a very closed ecosystem, a very tightly closed ecosystem, there is an abstraction that's happening in the networks, and there is an abstraction that is happening at the industry. And this is that the services, right, so the operators have two functions, connectivity and services, and that ecosystem was very closed. And the operator had full control of this. And they would connect the user and then provide him services, and then the user would pay for those services. And that model was and it was working really well. But with the advent of cloud, with the advent of smartphones, with the way the technology is evolving, and that's obviously inevitable, that there's no stopping that, what's happening is in the telecom industry, the service layer is actually getting abstracted, right? So services are getting abstracted from the network, from the operator networks, and therefore allowing non-traditional competitors to come in and compete, right?